It's not actually as bad as I was expecting. As you can see, everyone's red with the exception of some tokens that pumped really hard, that even though they're down, they're still showing green because they haven't gone down enough to eradicate the pump that they had. XRP is down 1.8% here. As you can see, that's actually done better than a lot of these other coins, especially noting that it did pump a little bit yesterday. So XRP is doing well, even though obviously people have anticipation. I did talk about a possible dip by the market makers trying to liquidate people before the actual pump begins. And also I mentioned a sell the news event that I was expecting after, the so-called spot XRP ETF started to trade, but it isn't as bad. 1.8% isn't bad at all. That's just a regular movement. It's not even a correction per se. It's just a regular movement, if you ask me. There's also some really good news. I was going to talk about this yesterday, but I got really tired and I chose sleep over content. Highly recommended, by the way. Before I get started with that, I want to talk about this. Shout out to Sam Rogers, man. £9.99. By the way, the British pound is very, very heavy for those of you in the United States. So that's really, that's hard currency right there. Time to buy you a coffee, he says. Your updates and insights are brilliantly done and saves us a lot of time. Bless you. Well, thank you very much, Sam Rogers. As it happens, I popped over to Marks and Spencer's and got myself some coffee beans, which, I popped into my bean to cup machine. Highly recommended, by the way. That's another, if you're a coffee lover, those machines are getting a lot better at making coffee these days. So make yourself some quality coffee at home, grab some nice beans from a reputable source, and you never turn back. So as you can see, there's been a bit of a pullback generally. Bitcoin's pulled back to 116,968, which isn't much either, right? So in fact, Bitcoin in the last hour is still back in the green now, as is XRP, as you can see. So a little bit of a, slight pullback, but nothing significant. You can see the market cap is still sitting at over $4 trillion, which is a good thing. We're still in neutral, exactly the same place as we were yesterday. So nothing special has happened. The only thing that's happened is, things with XRP haven't pumped as hard as some people may have expected, which is what I said in my last video, that, people are going to be disappointed. We're going to see a little bit of a, anticlimax feeling. And then we're going to probably pump after that once, the liquidated ones have been liquidated. So some good news that I was going to talk about yesterday is this. If you go to Ripple's website, their latest blog release, you will see this picture. If you go to DBS, which is one of the guys in that picture, as a big bank, right? You see the same picture. All right. That's because they've collaborated. I mean, they've worked before. Obviously, they've been, Franklin Templeton, especially. Investors can earn yield by acquiring Franklin Templeton's sgBENJI token on DBS Digital Exchange using Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin. So DBS will explore enabling that token to be used as collateral to obtain credit from the bank or third-party platforms. Okay, as you can see, real-world products are now making their way to the blockchain, and more we're seeing these picking Ripple and the XRP ledger for things like this. So I'll leave a link to both of these articles. They both look at the deal from a different angle, slightly from each person's perspective. As you can see here, this enables innovative trading and lending solutions. Digital asset investors typically allocate direct into public blockchain native tokens such as Bitcoin, Ether, and XRP. This is basically explaining the indirect exposure via synthetics and derivatives, etc. This may expose them to the inherent market volatility of cryptocurrencies while earning no yield on their portfolios. So it's saying, well, that's not 100% true. You can achieve the same thing via DeFi if you know what you're doing. But I get the point. People would buy and hold. This friend of mine who's held Ethereum now for 7 years, and it's quite a lot of Ethereum, a lot of ETH, and it's just been sitting in their wallet. I mean, it's probably the best thing to do because there are risks, of course, involved with staking, etc. And they've basically just left it there. Obviously, they've made a colossal amount of gains, but obviously they've also lost a bit to opportunity for not staking. Had they staked, perhaps a lot of airdrops might have come their way, a lot of yields might have come their way. They might even have doubled their holdings. But again, their original holdings are up dramatically, so a win's a win. And the surest win in this game is to buy and absolutely do nothing. Just do nothing at all. Just sit on it, forget about it, come back 10 years later and rip the rewards. That's the hands down most effective, most secure way to earn in this industry, in this whole sort of segment of finance. However, it's not the fastest way and it's not the most efficient way. Taking on a little bit of risk often has, well, up until now anyway, an out of proportion gains, right? Obviously, it could also lead to an out of proportion loss. Not financial advice, do your own research. So this is good news. There's another, perhaps even more important bit of news because it applies to everybody, not just XRP. So SEC has paved the way for crypto spot ETFs with new listing rules. So I'll leave this in the description as well, but the too long do not read summary of this is that the SEC has now made some changes where, things can be approved a lot faster. Some of the hurdles have been taken away. The days have been shortened from 240 days to 75 days. A lot of efficiencies have been put into this because remember, these ETF rules were formulated back when there was no such thing as crypto. So these are old rules. It's like applying rules for horse racing to the Formula One car races, right? That's pretty much what we're dealing with here. So this goes to streamline things a little bit, make things easier, make them faster. So we're in for what I would call an avalanche of ETF approvals. We're going to see ETFs fly through the approval stage and going up really, really rapidly after these rules are implemented. This may be one of the reasons why, the XRP bucket ETF, I don't know if you remember that, the one that where XRP, Bitcoin, ETH, I believe it was Solana and Doge was sitting in this one bucket, and it was pre-approved. It was originally approved by the SEC and then paused. So this might be the reason why they're doing that, just to make things move a little bit faster. And ironically, this might end up being even a faster process if, 75 days then were required rather than 240 days. Which is, it's good news for industry. It's good news for those who are awaiting ETFs on their blockchain, such as, of course, X to the RP. Shout out to XRP holders. Some people are disgruntled. I saw a message in one of I think it was my previous video when I talked about, I think it was titled, "Is Today the Day?" And that triggers a lot of people. There's, it's happening now. Today's the day. But look, it's headline format, right? If you go to the high street, look at your newspapers, everything's like this, right? If it's not titled like that, actual information that sort of addresses why they've said that. If one just says what one needs to say in the video, in the title, then what would be the point, right? This whole thing is a game and, we have to play it as the rules are. Demand and supply, not financial advice. I'll see you next one. Peace.